the taste of blood in her mouth, was what brought Isla back to consciousness. That and the throbbing pain in her left cheek where someone had hit her. Hard. Her eyes fluttered open to darkness, not complete, but the kind that came from a single bare bulb swinging overhead in what looked like an abandoned warehouse. The smell hit her next. Rust, mildew, and something chemical that made her stomach turn. She tried to move and immediately realized her hands were zip-tied behind her back, secured to a metal chair that was bolted to the floor. Her ankles were similarly bound. Professional work. These people knew what they were doing. Think, Isla, think. She forced herself to breathe slowly, to calm the panic threatening to overwhelm her. 3 years working for Kale had taught her things, whether she'd consciously realized it or not. She'd seen enough, heard enough, learned enough to know that panic got you killed. Clear thinking kept you alive. The space around her was large, mostly empty except for a few scattered crates and what looked like old manufacturing equipment. Windows high up on the walls, too high to reach, with bars across them. One exit she could see, a heavy metal door with light seeping underneath it. Voices on the other side, muffled but present. How long had she been out? Her internal clock was scrambled, but based on the way her muscles ached and her mouth felt like cotton, she'd guess at least 6 or 7 hours. Dawn, maybe, or close to it. The door opened, with a screech of metal on metal that made her teeth hurt. 3 men walked in, all still wearing masks, and Isla felt a cold knot of fear settle in her stomach. The one in front, the one who'd grabbed her in Kale's office, moved with the confidence of someone in charge. The other 2 flanked him like well-trained dogs. "Ah, Ms. Santos," he said pleasantly, as if they'd run into each other at a coffee shop. "Welcome back to the land of the living. I trust your accommodations are comfortable." Isla said nothing. Another lesson from watching Kale: never give them anything they don't already have. "Not much of a talker, are you? That's fine. I'll do the talking." He pulled up a crate, turned it over, and sat down facing her. "Let me explain your situation. You're currently in a building that doesn't exist on any official records. No one knows you're here except us and your beloved Mr. Kang. And right now, he's probably tearing soul apart trying to find you." Still, Isla remained silent, though her heart was hammering at the mention of Kale. "We gave him 48 hours, the man continued. 48 hours to decide what matters more, his empire or your life. It's been about 8 hours now. That leaves him 40 more to make his choice." "He'll never give you what you want," Isla said, her voice hoarse but steady. "Oh," the man leaned forward. "You sound very sure about that. Tell me, why wouldn't he trade his network for the woman he's in love with?" "Because you'll kill me anyway," Isla replied. "The moment he gives you what you want, I become a liability. You can't let me live, not after I've seen your faces. We're wearing masks. I know your voices. I know your builds, your mannerisms. I work in risk assessment, remember? I've been cataloging everything since I woke up." She met his eyes through the mask. "The one on the left favors his right leg. Old injury, probably military. The one on the right keeps touching his left shoulder, rotator cuff damage. And you're left-handed but trying to act right-handed. That suggests you're hiding an identifying feature, maybe a tattoo or a scar." The silence that followed was deeply satisfying. "Smart girl," the man said, and she could hear the smile in his voice even if she couldn't see it. "Kang chose well. Yes, you're right, you're a liability, but that doesn't mean we'll kill you right away. We might need you for additional leverage." "Additional leverage?" "Your Mr. Kang is a stubborn man. If he doesn't cooperate, we may need to send him proof that we're serious. A finger, perhaps, or an ear. Something to motivate him." Isla felt bile rise in her throat but forced it down. "You're wasting your time. Kale doesn't negotiate with terrorists." "He will for you. You don't know him as well as you think you do." "And you do." The man stood, moving closer. "Tell me, Ms. Santos, what is it about Kale Kang that inspires such loyalty? Is it the money, the power, or is it something more personal?" Isla pressed her lips together. "I've done my research on you," he continued, beginning to pace around her chair. "Isla Santos, 26 years old, educated at Seoul National University, graduated top of your class. You could have worked anywhere for anyone. Legitimate companies would have paid you handsomely, but you chose to work for a criminal. Why?" "Because the moment I met him, I knew he was more than what people said he was." Because underneath the ruthless exterior, I saw someone who protected his people with everything he had. Because in 3 years, I've watched him make impossible decisions and live with the weight of them. Because he's brilliant and damaged, and somehow, impossibly, he saw me as an equal. But Isla said none of that. Instead, she said, I needed a job, he was hearing. The man laughed. You're lying, but that's okay. You don't have to tell me, I already know the truth. You're in love with him, have been for a while now, I'd guess. Does he know? What does it matter? It matters because love makes people stupid, makes them reckless, makes them trade empires for secretaries. He stopped in front of her. When Kang gives us what we want, when he destroys everything he's built for you, I want you to remember something. I want you to remember that his fall was your fault, that because he loved you, he lost everything. Then you really don't know him at all, Isla said quietly. Because if Kale gives you his network, it won't be because he's weak. It'll be because he's already figured out how to destroy you with it. The man went very still. Then he reached out and grabbed her face, squeezing hard enough that pain shot through her already bruised cheek. Brave words from someone in your position. Let's see if you're still this confident after a few more hours. He released her and walked toward the door, the other two following. The light went out, plunging her back into darkness. And Isla was alone again with her fear, and her faith that Kale would come. Meanwhile, across the city, Kale was making good on his promise to tear Seoul apart. The first building on Yuna's list had been a dead end, an abandoned textile factory that hadn't been used in years, filled with nothing but rats and decay. The second had been occupied by squatters who'd scattered the moment Jin kicked in the door. The third had been another miss. But Kale wasn't stopping, couldn't stop. Every minute that passed was another minute Isla was in danger. Another minute she was scared and hurt and alone, and the thought of it was driving him slowly insane. Boss, Marcus said carefully as they approached the fourth location. You need to slow down. You're running on rage and no sleep. That's how mistakes happen. I don't have time to slow down, Kale snapped, checking his weapon for the third time in as many minutes. The geometric patterns on his arms seemed to pulse with his elevated heart rate, the celestial designs almost seeming to move in the dim light of the car. Every second I waste is another second she's with them. And if you get yourself killed, storming in somewhere without thinking, who's going to save her? That made Kale pause. Marcus was right, as much as he hated to admit it. But the fear clawing at his chest, the absolute terror of losing Isla, was making it hard to think straight. I can't lose her, he said quietly. Marcus, I can't. She's everything. I know, brother, I know. Marcus put a hand on his shoulder. That's why we're going to be smart about this. That's why we're going to find her and bring her home. But you have to keep your head. Kale took a deep breath, then another. Years of controlling his emotions, of maintaining that icy exterior, and it was all crumbling because of one woman. Because Isla had somehow slipped past every defense he had and made herself essential. His phone rang, unknown number. He answered immediately. Mr. Kang. A different voice this time, not the man from before. Younger, nervous. I have information about your secretary. Kale's entire body went rigid. I'm listening. I'm part of the crew that took her. I wasn't supposed to be, I'm new, okay? I didn't know they were going to hurt her. I thought it was just a scare tactic. Where is she? I can't. If they find out I called you, they'll kill me. And if you don't tell me where she is, I'll kill you myself, Kale said, his voice deadly calm. Slower, more painfully, your choice. The silence on the other end was filled with panicked breathing. There's a warehouse in Gangnam, old electronics manufacturing plant, been abandoned for 5 years. They're holding her in the basement level. If you're lying to me. I'm not, I swear. Look, I have a sister, okay? She's about Ms. Santos's age. When I saw what they did to her face, I couldn't. This isn't what I signed up for. Kale felt rage white-hot and blinding surge through him. What did they do to her face? They hit her a couple times. She's got a bad bruise on her left cheek, split lip, but she's alive, she's fighting. She told them you'd destroy them. Something fierce and proud cut through the fear. Of course Isla was fighting. She wasn't the type to break easily. The warehouse, Kale pressed. Give me the exact address. The man rattled off an address that matched one on Yuna's list. Building 17. They'd been planning to check it next. How many men inside? 6 on the ground level, 3 in the basement with her, all armed. Exits. 2, main entrance on the north side, fire exit on the south. But the fire exit is chained from the outside. Security systems. Basic cameras, nothing fancy. They shut down most of them to avoid being traced. There's only 2 working now, 1 at each entrance. Kale was already signaling Jin to change direction. "You just saved your own life," he told the caller. "Get out of Seoul. If I see you again, I won't be this generous." "Thank you, I thank you." The line went dead. "We have her location," Kale told the others. "Abandoned electronics plant, Gangnam District. 9 hostiles, 3 with Isla." "That's a lot of people for a frontal assault," Marcus said. "We should call in backup." "No time. We go in now, we go in hard, and we get her out." Yuna looked up from her laptop in the passenger seat. "I can loop the camera feeds, give you a 15-minute window before anyone monitoring realizes something's wrong." "Do it." Kale checked his weapon again, then pulled out a second one from the compartment under his seat. "Marcus, you take the south exit. Jin and I will breach from the north. Yuna, you stay with the car and monitor communications, if anything goes wrong." "Nothing's going wrong," Marcus interrupted. "We're getting her back, boss, all of us." 20 minutes later, they were parked 2 blocks from the warehouse, watching the building through binoculars. It looked exactly as the informant had described. Old, abandoned, windows broken or boarded up. But there was a faint glow of light from the lower levels, barely visible in the pre-dawn darkness. Isla was in there, scared, hurt, but alive. Kale clung to that thought like a lifeline. "Cameras are looped," Yuna confirmed. "You've got 15 minutes starting now." Kale and Jin moved silently through the shadows, approaching the north entrance. Marcus split off to circle around to the south side. The door was locked, but Jin made quick work of it with a set of picks that would have impressed any thief. They slipped inside to darkness and the smell of decay. The ground floor was a maze of old equipment and empty space. Kale could hear voices above them, casual conversation, men who thought they were safe. They were wrong. Moving like ghosts, Kale and Jin navigated toward the stairwell that would lead them down to the basement. They encountered the first guard at the top of the stairs. Jin had him unconscious before he could make a sound. The second guard was at the bottom of the stairs. This one saw them coming, started to raise his weapon. Kale fired once, suppressed shot barely louder than a cough. The man went down. Alarms started blaring, so much for stealth. "Go," Kale shouted, and they ran. The basement level was exactly as bad as Kale had imagined. Concrete walls, minimal lighting, and the sound of people shouting, running, preparing for a fight. He rounded a corner and saw the metal door, saw the light underneath it. Saw 2 guards raising their weapons. He didn't hesitate, 2 shots both finding their marks. The men fell. Kale kicked in the door. The room beyond was dimly lit, and there in the center was Isla, tied to a chair, blood on her face and fear in her eyes. But alive. She was alive. "Kale," she gasped. But he didn't have time to respond because the third guard, the one who'd been standing behind the door, slammed into him from the side. They went down hard, Kale's weapon skittering across the floor. The man was on top of him, hands around his throat, squeezing. Kale fought back, years of street fighting and survival instincts kicking in. He got a hand free, drove his thumb into the man's eye. The guard screamed, his grip loosening just enough for Kale to flip their positions. 1 punch, 2, 3, and the man went limp beneath him. Jin was already moving past him, knife out, cutting through Isla's restraints. "Are you hurt?" Kale demanded, pulling her up, checking her over with frantic hands. The bruise on her face made him want to go back and kill the unconscious guard all over again. "Can you walk?" "I'm okay," she said, but her voice was shaking. "Kale, there's more of them upstairs. They'll have heard the alarm." "I know, we need to move, now." But as they turned toward the door, it slammed shut. The sound of heavy locks engaging echoed through the room. No. Kale moved to the door, tried to force it. Solid steel, reinforced. They weren't getting through it. "Clever, Mr. Kang," a voice said over an intercom system Kale hadn't noticed. The man from before. You found her faster than we expected. Impressive. But did you really think we wouldn't have a contingency plan? Kale's jaw clenched. Let us out. Oh, I will. Eventually. But first, let's talk about those files you were supposed to give me. See, your little rescue attempt has moved up our timeline. I need those files now. I don't have them. Then get them. You have your computer genius in the car outside, yes. Have her send everything we asked for to the email address I'm about to send you. You have 10 minutes. And if I do? Then the room you're in floods with carbon monoxide. You'll all go to sleep, peacefully, painlessly, and you'll never wake up. Isla made a small sound of distress. Kale pulled her close, feeling her shake against him. How do I know you'll let us go if I give you what you want? Kale asked, stalling for time, his mind racing through options. You don't, but it's the only chance you have. 10 minutes, Mr. Kang, starting now. The intercom clicked off. Kale immediately pulled out his phone, called Yuna. We're trapped. Basement level, room on the west side. They want the files. Boss, if I give them those files. I know what it means. Do it anyway. Kale, no, Isla said, grabbing his arm. You can't, that's everything. Your entire network, all your contacts, they'll destroy you. I don't care. I care, her voice cracked. I'm not worth your entire empire. He turned to face her fully, cupped her bruised face gently in his hands. You're worth everything, Isla. Every deal, every contact, every piece of power I've accumulated. None of it means anything if you're not alive. But, no, he cut her off. 3 years. 3 years I've been terrified to tell you how I feel because I thought keeping you at a distance would keep you safe. I was an idiot. Distance didn't protect you. It just wasted time we could have had together. Tears were streaming down her face now. Kale. I love you, he said, the words falling from his lips like a confession, like a prayer. I have loved you since the day you walked into my office and refused to apologize for being late. I have loved you through every meeting, every late night, every moment you've stood beside me. And if loving you costs me everything else, then so be it. Because you're the only thing that matters. I love you too, she whispered. I've loved you for so long I can't remember what it felt like not to love you. He kissed her then, gentle despite the desperation of the moment, tasting her tears and her fear and her love. When he pulled back, he pressed his forehead against hers. We're getting out of this, he promised. All of us. Boss, Jin said quietly from his position by the door. We have maybe 7 minutes before that gas starts. Kale nodded, pulling away from Isla reluctantly. He studied the room, looking for anything they could use. The walls were solid concrete, the door was reinforced steel, the windows were too high and too small. But there was old equipment in the corner. Manufacturing machinery that had been left behind when the plant closed. Jin, help me move this, Kale said, moving toward what looked like a heavy metal press. Together, they shoved it toward the door. It was massive, easily 1,000 pounds, but they managed to get it positioned. What are you doing? Isla asked. Creating leverage, Kale replied. He pulled off his jacket, revealing the full extent of his tattoos, the geometric patterns and celestial designs covering his arms. He wrapped the jacket around his hands. Jin, when I say go, we're going to use this press as a battering ram. The door opens inward, so if we hit it hard enough. It might buckle the frame, Jin finished. Smart. Boss, the files, Yuna's voice came through his phone. Do I send them? Give me 3 minutes, Kale said. If we're not out by then, send everything and get out of here. I'm not leaving you. That's an order, Yuna. He ended the call before she could argue. Isla, get behind us, he instructed. When this door gives, there's going to be people on the other side. Stay low, stay behind us, and run when I tell you to run. She nodded, moving to position herself behind them. On 3, Kale said to Jin. 1, 2, 3. They slammed the press into the door with all their combined strength. The metal screamed, the frame groaned, but it held. Again, Kale shouted. They pulled back and hit it again. This time, he heard something crack. The frame was giving. Once more. The third impact did it. The door buckled, the frame splitting, and suddenly there was a gap large enough to squeeze through. Go, go, go. Kale pushed Isla through first, then followed, Jin right behind him. They emerged into chaos. The guards from upstairs had heard the commotion and were converging on their position. Gunfire erupted. Cale returned fire, trying to cover Isla as they ran for the stairs. Marcus appeared at the top of the stairwell, his own weapon blazing. "This way." They fought their way up, every step hard-won. Cale felt a bullet graze his shoulder, hot and painful, but he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Isla was in front of him, and keeping her safe was the only thing that mattered. They burst out into the ground floor. Dawn light was streaming through the broken windows. The exit was 30 feet away. 20 feet. 10. They were almost there when Isla suddenly stopped, her body going rigid. Cale nearly crashed into her. "Isla, what?" Then he saw it. Saw the man stepping out of the shadows by the exit, weapon trained directly on Isla's chest. The man from before, the leader, but this time his mask was off. And Cale's blood ran cold, because he recognized that face. "Hello, brother," the man said and smiled. Cale felt Isla turn to look at him, felt her confusion and fear, felt the entire world tilt on its axis. "What?" she breathed. The man who'd kidnapped her, who'd hurt her, who'd threatened to kill her, was someone Cale knew, someone from his past, someone who should have been dead. "Did you really think you could erase me that easily?" the man continued. "Did you think changing your name, building your empire, that any of it would make you forget?" Cale said, and the name felt like ash in his mouth. "You're supposed to be dead." "Yes, well, that was the plan, wasn't it? Leave your baby brother to die in that fire while you escaped. Very heroic of you, Cale. Or should I say, Hyun-woo? That's your real name, isn't it? The name you abandoned when you recreated yourself." Isla was staring at him, and Cale could see the questions forming, the realization that everything she thought she knew about him might be a lie. "It wasn't like that," Cale said, his voice rough. You have to understand." "Understand what? That you left me behind. That you built this entire empire while I was in prison, while I was suffering, while I was surviving." Dee's weapon never wavered from Isla. "But now I understand. Now I see what matters to you, and I'm going to take it away from you the way you took everything from me." His finger tightened on the trigger. Everything happened in slow motion. Cale saw the movement, knew what was coming, knew he couldn't reach Isla in time, so he did the only thing he could. He threw himself between Isla and the gun. The shot was deafening in the enclosed space. Pain exploded in Cale's chest, hot and consuming. He heard Isla scream, heard Marcus and Jin returning fire, heard Dee curse and run. Then he was falling, and Isla was catching him, lowering him to the ground, her hands pressed against his chest, trying to stop the bleeding that wouldn't stop. "No, no, no," she was saying, over and over like a prayer. "Cale, stay with me, don't you dare leave me." He tried to speak, but blood filled his mouth. His vision was getting dark around the edges, the celestial tattoos on his arms seeming to fade along with his consciousness. "I'm sorry," he managed to whisper, "for everything, for all the secrets." "Don't," she sobbed. "Don't apologize, just stay awake, help is coming." But Cale could feel himself slipping away, could feel the darkness pulling at him. His last thought before everything went black was that at least Isla was safe. At least he'd managed to protect her, even if it cost him everything. The last thing he heard was her voice, desperate and broken, calling his name. Then nothing.